In our sea of troubles, we might have overlooked a bit of a speech by the Prime Minister overnight to a think tank in Aspen about China. Now, I tell you, I'm so worried about China, which has been picking so many fights with so many countries, including us, so aggressive. Yesterday, I interviewed a retired US general warning, as you may have heard, that China could go to war to take back Taiwan by the end of the decade. And at the other end of the ideological dial, we've got former Prime Minister Kevin Rudd now tweeting, warning that there are real dangers of the South China Sea erupting into a shooting match in just months from now because China's stolen that territory, and that's upset a lot of neighbours, including, and also the US. Now, our Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, is very keen not to keep poking China in the eye because we've got so much trade with it. But in his speech overnight, he very carefully suggested it follow the rules. But then for balance, he said, so should America.
We have welcomed China's rise as a major economic partner. It has been great for our economy and the global economy in the Indo-Pacific region. But with the economic rise does come economic and broader strategic responsibility. China has a role to enhance regional and global stability, commensurate with its new status. Together, China and the United States have a special responsibility to uphold what Bull described as the common set of rules that build an international society. Now, that means respecting international law and the peaceful resolution of disputes, including trade disputes. It means a commitment to rules-based economic interaction. Neither coercion nor abdication from the international system is the way forward.
Okay, it wasn't a speech that might have jolted you awake with its immediacy and cut-through, but joining me a short while ago to interpret it was Annelise Nielsen, Sky News political reporter and presenter. Annelise Nielsen, thanks for joining me. Look, the Prime Minister didn't thump any tables or really ring loudly any warning bells. So what was the point of the speech exactly?
Well, the point is to keep making the point, and that's one that hasn't necessarily always been welcomed by the United States. We know they've been throwing their weight around, in particular with trade deals, which has left Australia largely unscathed up until this point. But this comes off the back of our Foreign Minister and our Defence Minister both going to the US for this AUSMIN meeting, where they were really laying out that Australia, while we're strong allies with the US, we will always be playing by our own rule book. And this was really showing Scott Morrison was willing to keep pushing that line that Australia is going to be a key influencer in the South China Sea and in the South Pacific region, because those are really contentious between the US and China at the moment. What was really interesting was he pointed to how he's working on those relationships with Japan, India, some of those other powers in the region, because you can't rely on being a strong ally of one or the other right now, that being China or the United States. And so what was notable here, I think more than anything, was just the timing, that it was still moderate language, and that he was referring to how last year he'd said he wouldn't engage in negative globalism. He was extending on that, saying now he's going to be engaging in positive globalism. This is at a time when every country is reverting back to a really quite nationalistic approach to foreign policy. So the timing is everything here, and not least the fact that he was speaking to the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea right afterwards, showing Australia is going to keep working on those relationships in our region.
Yeah, so it seems to me clear that what he really wants is not to be seen as America's lapdog, but still sharing a lot of its concerns and wanting to build a coalition of Chinese neighbours. Vietnam is worked on, Japan clearly. Let China know that it's really offending everyone in its neighbourhood right now, and there should be a united front. Well, good luck to that. Let's see that if that works out. In the United States, President Trump has meanwhile also banned not just Huawei, like we've done, from its 5G network, but is now going after the social media app TikTok, saying that China can use it to suck up the users' data and, bring it back to China for whatever purposes it wants. We've had parliamentary inquiries looking into this. Which way is Morrison leaning?
Well, what was really interesting is he didn't take the bait on this. It could have been a really easy hit that would have gotten a lot of media attention in Australia if he'd said that he wanted TikTok banned. We know it's become really popular during the pandemic, but it is something where there are those really serious security concerns. It's a Chinese company. Those do not exist without the influence of the Chinese Communist Party, particularly at that level, and you cannot be assured of any of the data on TikTok and also how it could influence your phone. But what Scott Morrison said was he wasn't interested in banning it, but anyone who should use it in Australia should be very concerned about what is going back to China, So he could have had a really easy populist hit. He didn't quite go there, and that would have played into what the US is pursuing at the moment as well. So it shows that he's pursuing this moderate, reasonable level right in the middle, and that's really key with how he's approaching our politics in the region. Yeah,
look, I just hope that he hasn't gone too far in trying to put some distance between him and America and ignores, I mean, he's conceding there is a security concern, so whether he leaves it up to other people or gets involved himself, well, I don't know. He's made his choice. Annelise, I was appalled by the media pylon on George Calombaris, the celebrity chef, the MasterChef celebrity at the time, when he said, and I think initially he volunteered this, he'd underpaid workers. It was an accident, he said, and the laws are very complex in this area, and he'd repay them, which I believe he did. He was nevertheless called a wage cheat. Unions demanded people boycott his restaurants. The whole empire went belly up, sold off. Now, since then, we've seen lots of big companies also caught out underpaying their workers. Woolworths, for instance, much more money involved. And really woke businesses like the ABC caught out. None of the big fuss, none of the, you know, let's make examples of them and call them wage thieves and all that kind. And now Melbourne University, 1,500 staff underpaid by as much as a third, millions and millions of dollars. What is the lesson from this saga?
The lesson is exactly what you said. So many of these stories just go completely underreported. But for this conversation, this story is probably falling by the wayside to the fact that Melbourne University's now come out and said they're taking $1 billion hit because of coronavirus and they're going to have to lay off 450 staff. But this story is quite significant. This has been going for over 10 years. At least 1,500 academics at the moment across 4 different faculties have been underpaid what the unions estimate is up to $6 million. And this is from really systemic issues. This is from academics being told that their tutorials aren't tutorials, they're practice classes, and being given set amount of time to mark papers that simply cannot be done with any kind of realistic time spent on marking the actual assessments. And so this has been long-running underpayment. And this is at the same time that we have higher education in this country asking for JobKeeper access to keep students on when their business model is fundamentally built on having foreign students come and pay very expensive full-price courses. The business models for so many, not just Melbourne University, which is just worth billions of dollars at the end of the day, they are built on these foreign students and they do have to rework their business models now. This is why the government is standing firm on JobKeeper, saying, look, you guys need to rework this now. We're not going to be subsidising this. And there's so many serious issues for what should be really well-respected, well-paid, remunerated academics.
Well, I wonder what it says about the business and management classes if it can do this. What is it teaching? I don't know. Annelise Nielsen, thank you so much indeed for your time.
Thank you.